looking over in New York, which has upended our political tradition, which is why I'm so pleased that we have, back to the show, Jared Roberts, a lawyer for President Trump, who is very familiar with not just the details of this case, but many of the legal cases that the liberals have thrown at the president. Jared, thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So I don't have any formal training in the law whatsoever. I'm not sure that Judge Merchan in New York has much formal training in the law, for that matter. We've talked about the historic significance of this decision. What happens now? Is the president going to go to jail? What does this look like on appeal? How does this affect the election? And how do you speculate, from your familiarity with the broader Trump legal team, how do you speculate that the Trump team is thinking about this?
Yeah, so I don't think the president will be going to jail. There's a sentencing in the next few months, but I think it's unlikely. I mean, he's a first-time offender. New York doesn't like to send people to jail, as we've seen. Maybe the rules are different with President Trump.
Yeah, Jared, I hate to cut you off, but had President Trump gone up and robbed a liquor store, or gone into the subway and punched a woman in the face, or, I don't know, murdered someone in broad daylight on Fifth Avenue, as he once joked about years ago, then he wouldn't be in any jail for more than 5 minutes. He would be out probably without any bond. But that's not, he's a Republican politician who challenges the establishment. That led me to believe they were going to throw him in jail for the rest of his life.
Oh, exactly. No, New York doesn't prosecute real crimes. They only go after made up ones against Republicans. So naturally, the next step here is filing the notice of appeal. And I think on appeal, even though it is the New York system, I think that, I mean, the argument is there. Any other jurisdiction, it's a slam dunk case. We still don't even know what the underlying charge is. It wasn't on the verdict form for how this case was raised to a felony, because remember, without it being a felony, the statute of limitations expired, I think, in 2019. So they had to prove an underlying charge to raise this to a felony. They never described to us what that underlying charge was. The verdict form never described what the underlying charge is. I mean, I think it's a major due process violation that President Trump couldn't even defend against this. And that alone is grounds to reverse this. And so the jury verdict almost did President Trump a favor in not specifying what the underlying charge is, because, I mean, that's the easiest grounds right there for a reversal.
Text Knowles, KNWLES, to 989898. We recently had some monumental news that no one's talking about. For the first time in our history, the interest we pay on the national debt has surpassed every individual budget item except for Social Security. The United States now spends more on interest than on national defense or Medicare, and the situation is only getting worse as the government continues to spend like drunken sailors. That is why investors, central banks, and concerned savers are turning to gold, something not tied to the inflated U.S. dollar. Birch Gold understands that navigating financial decisions can be scary. That is why their dedicated in-house IRA department is there to guide you every step of the way. Birch Gold is committed to addressing your questions and concerns promptly. Whether it's about fees, taxes on rollovers, or the timing of the process, they are here to ensure you feel valued and well-informed. Text Knowles, KNWLES, to 989898 to talk to one of Birch Gold's experts and claim your free info kit on gold. You will learn how to convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Best part is, it does not cost you 1 penny out of pocket. Just text Knowles, KNWLES, to 989898. That is Knowles to 989898. So what's your take on the New York Appeals Court? Because even the so-called rock-ribbed conservative jurists in America sometimes surprise us. Let's not forget it was a jurist who I generally like, Neil Gorsuch, who wrote transgenderism into civil rights law. So, even the conservatives go squishy a lot of the time. I can't imagine the judges on the appeals court in New York are the creme de la creme, let's say.
Right, yeah. And I mean, I'm a former New Yorker. Luckily, I got out just in time. But, well, the judges might not be the best for this situation. I think any fair jurist would realize what happened here was wrong, that first, these charges should have never been brought. then the jury instruction was faulty. The verdict form was faulty. The prosecution never actually proved their case. I mean, it's almost a slam dunk case that they have to get rid of on appeal. Otherwise, I mean, right now people are questioning the authenticity of our system. I mean, I certainly am. And without reversal here, I mean, I think the system is dead in the water as is, because it's such a slam dunk case that should be reversed.
So what does this mean? You're predicting, it gives me some relief, that they're not actually going to send Trump to prison. What does this mean for the other cases that have now been pushed until after the election? And what do you think President Trump is thinking?
Right now, I think the president is probably energized. I mean, the base is certainly energized. Going forward, there's a lot of campaign material, obviously. Fundraising is off the charts. The website actually crashed, as you were alluding to earlier. I think that the president, my understanding is he was calm yesterday during the reading. I don't think it was anything that necessarily surprised him. He knows how the system is. And right now, the focus is just kind of getting to November 2024. That's when the real verdict from the American people will come, and dealing with the rest later. I think this has all been a distraction from the Biden administration. They know that they can't beat him at the polls, so they're trying to beat him in the courts and abuse our system. That's what this entire case was about. That's why there was a gag order in place. They wanted to keep him off the campaign trail so Biden could go out and raise money for his party, and President Trump had to stay in a courtroom all day. And so really, at the end of the day, there's nothing to these charges other than the fact that the Biden campaign is freaking out that they're going to lose, and they need to essentially rig our system to prevent that.
Right. I love that line. I mean, sometimes people knock Trump and they say he gets distracted because, he'd tweet about Mika Brzezinski's face or whatever. But he's always seemed to have a pretty decent focus to me on where he wants his campaign to go. And you really saw that yesterday. He hit that line. The real verdict comes down on November 5th. That's the line, right? That's really what it's all about. All of these prosecutions in New York and DC and Georgia and blah, 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 wherever, they're not about documents. They're not about Stormy Daniels. They're not about a phone call to a Secretary of State. They're about November 5th. They're about the reason he's sitting in that courtroom is so that Joe Biden gets a campaign and a fundraising advantage. Not that he's doing all that much with it. It's all about November 5th. And so that's where you focus it. Not even the judge probably could tell you what this case is about in New York, much less the ordinary casual political observer. So what do you remind them? This is about election interference. It's rigging. It is disgraceful. But really, the only verdict that matters is November 5th. Jared, thank you for coming on. Greatly appreciate it. And hopefully we can have you back to celebrate when President Trump does not go to prison, and all the better when he goes to the White House, which is the shiniest, most beautiful prison in our electoral system. That was a great clip. Now hold up, ring that bell, subscribe to the Michael Knowles YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.